My full name is Toby Lloyd Tafoya Joseph. The Toby part is a family name that's been handed down several generations. Lloyd was my grandfather's name, and Tafoya was actually his last name, which is what I was born with. Joseph I got when I married my wife Shannon and took her name, so it's my maiden name. Because if my kids are only half, that makes my grandkids a quarter, and with the particular band that we're enrolled with, anything under half and you're not considered an enrolled member of the band. I was born in 1968 in a place called Colorado Springs, which is at the base of Pikes Peak, which is in an area called Manitou. It's the traditional home of the Tabaguachi Ute, who were pushed from there down into the Four Corners area. So for me growing up, it was in the foothills of Pikes Peak. I got to run, play in rivers and the caves, and basically run free.
I had my children, I moved to Manitou, which is in Colorado Springs as well. And this is where I raised my children in a cave. Bathed them in the river, washed my clothes, fed them, and they slept nightly in the cave.
I can then remember the first day I started here as a full-time student in the digital media program. Both days, both beginnings, very scary. But if the first one hadn't happened, it wouldn't have given me the tools I needed for the second. And so there was this progression that led to that first day that removed some of that fear, but still very scary. There were programs and people in the program that I looked at the program and went, I'm never gonna figure that out. There's too many buttons. I'm never gonna get to where this person is. Look what they're creating. I can't say that now.
Well, at first, Toby started out at ground zero. He didn't really have any background with any of the programs we use, like Photoshop, After Effects, Final Cut, or Soundtrack. He didn't have a lot of background. So one of the things that I started him out with was some very simple projects to get him familiar with Photoshop. The thing that I loved about Toby right off the get-go was his fascination with other people's work. He looked around the room and said, I don't know if I can do that. Said, sure you can, just take some time. And he started to communicate with other younger people in the class, and he was admiring their freedom of creativity. Started to think what we could say outside of the box. And that's when he really started to take off. He stopped focusing on, I need to learn the program, but switched it to, I need to tell a story, and this is the tool I'm going to use. When Toby first started class, he was at ground zero. On a scale of 1 to 10, he's excelling upwards of a 7.5 to an 8. That's really good for being in class for less than a year. He has a long way to go, but his growth is amazing. He's going to be able to do things when he graduates that are really above entry-level position. Entry-level position is going into digital media as an operator. He's actually going to be able to leave school and go in as a creator.
Brian Parker has been very influential for me in this program, not only as a teacher, but personally. Dan Kopek, who is over at KBTC and helps me with my internship there. Guy that works, well, a few guys that work over there, Mike and Dennis, and Jelly, and Chris, and Eric, guys who are professionals doing for a living, getting paid what I as a student want to one day do.
Mornings at Toby are sometimes, slow to react.
A few years back I had a back surgery and then a couple bouts of spinal meningitis, so I'm on a lot of medications and I have a lot of physical disabilities.
When he is running behind due to a family obligation or due to maybe experiencing discomfort, some pain, we have an agreement. If he calls in and tells me that he's going to be late, then he's able to work extra outside of class to make up those hours. One of the things he does is he has an internship at KBTC. And at KBTC, he works until 5 o'clock. Our class schedule ends at 3:30, so that gives him an hour and a half extra that he can actually use to make up the time that he may have missed in the morning.
Coming back to school, Opening up my life to new people was very difficult. The historical trauma, the PTSD that my friend Norm spoke about, for me that was very real. And what it led to, beyond just the historical trauma, what was real life trauma. I had not only my daughter pass away, 2 twins, a couple bouts of spinal meningitis, things that made it very difficult for me because they were real barriers that needed to be overcome so that I can get to a place I needed to be, educated and, well, that kind, loving, radiant, truthful, just person that I've been educated we should all strive to be. And then hope that what I get across and what comes out of this is people need to create networks. They need an education, both spiritual and material. And my hope is that what people take away from this is that it starts with themselves. If there were 3 traits that I were to define that I think definitively a digital media student needs, the first would be commitment. No matter what you do, you have to be committed to it. And this is a program where if you are committed to being a digital media student, you will learn a lot. But if you are not committed, you're not going to learn as much, and you're not really going to be a digital media student. You're just going to be a Bates student who was in a digital media class. Second, I think art, creativity have to be not the most important thing, because I don't think I'm a great artist, but I am very artistic and very creative. And I think that's needed, because if you're an in-the-box kind of person, you might not do well in digital media. And then third, and definitely not last or least, I think you need a desire, or at least an idea of where you're going to go with this. If there were one statement, I suppose would be my legacy or an epitaph on my headstone, I would hope that it said, "Here lies Toby Joseph, a world citizen who helped to bring about change and the unity of mankind."